Hey, what's up? This is your old pal, Mr. Cook, and we're going to go through this Chapter 8 test review for college math. I'm just going to do a couple problems at a time, probably. Um, yeah, maybe like we'll do the first six first, and that's it. All right, so first six problems are from 8.1. And in 8.1, we learned how to convert from, a bunch of different units. Mostly like, you kind of want to focus on like the big seven. That would be like the kilo values, hecto values, deca values, the standard values, which would just be like the, a meter or a gram or a liter. And then the deci values, centi values, and the millivalues. So all of these prefixes, kilo, hecto, deca, and all that stuff, here's how they look when they're written up. Like kilo is K, hecta is H, deca is DA. The standard unit is just, the same, like it's not a letter that's pushed in front of something. Deciliters or decimeters has a D in front of it. Centa has a C. Milli has a lowercase m. So here's how you can work through these problems really easily. It's just about converting from one set of units to another. So I'm converting 60 decameters to centimeters. I know it's decameters. Even though it says DAM, it's not DAM, it's DA, deca, and then meters, M. Okay, so this is written out like this, decameters. And then the other units I'm converting to is CM, which is centimeters. So here's how I approach these problems. It's always about multiplying fractions. So it's really helpful to have a calculator out so you can multiply fractions together. But here's how it works. Okay, so like I start off with 60 decameters, DAM. All right, and I put that over 1 as a fraction. And then what I do is I multiply by the conversion unit. Okay, and I'll show you how to get the conversion unit in a second. And then I'm going to end up with some number, okay, like a fraction. And then I'm going to end up with the units that I want, which is centimeters. Okay, so CM over here. So here's how I get it. I first write the exact same units that I have in the numerator here, 60 decameters. I write decameters in the denominator here, DAM. And then in the top, I put the units that I want, so centimeters, CM, like that. All right, so here's what I do. All right, so between centimeters and decameters, I find the one on my list over here on the right that's the highest up. So I start at kilo and I make my way down. So kilo, no, not hecto, but deca. Deca is the one that I start with, okay, because I have decameters. And then I need to get to centimeters. So then I, go down to the one that I need, centimeters, like that. So the one that's higher on this list, I put a 1 next to it. So 1 is my decameter. I have 1 decameter. And then to find out how many centimeters that's going to be, what I do is I go up by 10 each time. So from the standard unit, I do 10 there. And then for deca, I put another 0 in front of it, so 100. And then for centa, I put one more 0, so that's going to be 1,000. So what that means is that for 1 decameter, it's equal to 1,000 centimeters. And that's what I put over here. I put 1,000 centimeters, 1,000 cm, over 1 decameter. That's the conversion unit that I'm going to use. Okay, so now if I've done this correctly, then that means that since this is a fraction, if I have decameters in the top and decameters in the bottom, just like any other fraction, they'll cancel out. So these units cancel out, leaving just centimeters. And that's what I want, okay? And now I multiply straight across. So I do 60 times 1,000, and that's going to give me 60,000. And then I multiply across in the bottom. So 1 times 1 is just going to be 1. And then I just, use my calculator and figure out what that's going to be. But, when you divide by 1, it's the same as keeping the value the same. So this is just going to give me 60,000 centimeters. So my answer for number 1 is going to be 60,000. All right. Now, I did this in a long way, but really it's a very fast process once you get this down. Let me show you how fast you can do this. And I'm even kind of slowing down for this because I want to make sure that we get through all the steps and everything. But now let's go over to 19.1 HL, and we're trying to convert that to kiloliters, KL. All right, so here's how I do that. All right, so I've got hectoliters, H, that's hecto, and then I've got kiloliters, that's kilo. So I go to my list and I find, which one's higher of the two, so kilo or hecto. It looks like it's hecto. So that's going to give a 1 right there. And then I need to go to hecto, which is the one right below it. So all I do is just I start at 1 and then I go down by tens. So 10 there for that one. So I stop because I stop at hecto. That's as far as I need to go, from kilo to hecto. So now I'm going to use my little conversion unit that 1 kilogram is equal to 10 hecto. Well, 1 kiloliter is equal to 10 hectoliters. And I'm going to use my my unit conversion to find this answer. So I do 19.1 hectoliters over 1. And then I multiply that by my conversion unit to get my answer in terms of kiloliters. So to do that, hectoliters is on the top, so it needs to cancel with hectoliters in the bottom. And I put kiloliters in the top, like that. And then I just write out my conversion. So for 1 kiloliter, I have 10 hectoliters, so I put a 10 there. And then the hectoliters are going to cancel out, leaving me just with kiloliters. And now I just multiply my numbers together. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me erase this real quick. For future use, kilo, K, hecto, H. Okay, so if I multiply straight across the top, 19.1 times 1 is going to give me 19.1. And then in the bottom, it's going to be 1 times 10, which is 10. And then if I use my calculator for this, 19.1 divided by 10 is going to give me 1.91 kiloliters. And that's my answer, 1.91. Okay, see, I can do that pretty quickly. And even then, I was slowing myself down. I can get through the next two very fast if I do this conversion. And by the way, this comes from 8.1. So if you just go to the 8.1 homework and practice more of these, you can do this very, very fast. All right, so let me see how fast I can do this one. So 0.25 millimeters over 1. And then I need to cancel that with millimeters in the bottom, and I need to end up with meters. So I put that in the top. So now meters, that's the standard unit. That's going to be right over here. That's much higher than the milliliters. So now I just put a 1 for the standard unit and then go down by tens after that. So 10, 100, 1,000. So I know that for 1 meter, it's equal to 1,000 millimeters. And then if I multiply straight across the top, 0.25 times 1 is going to be 0.25. And then 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. And then, the millimeters are going to cancel out here. So I'm left in terms of just meters. And if I use my calculator for this, let's see here, that drops down another 3 zeros. So 0.00025 and then meters would be my answer. So 0.00025 meters. And again, you can use your calculator to, multiply that out. It's really easy. Okay, let's see how fast I can do the next one, number 4. So with number 4, I do the same thing, 48.25 kilograms. So that's kilo. And let's see, I'm going to multiply that, and then kilo is going to go on the bottom, and then I need decigrams at the top, dg. So kilo is the much higher one, right? So kilo is right here. I need to go all the way down to decis. So I put 1 at kilo and then go up by tens each time, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. So that means that for 1 kilo, it's going to be 10,000 decigrams. Okay, now if I multiply across the top, the kilograms will cancel out, leaving just decigrams, and let's see what happens. So 48.25 times 1,000 or 10,000. If I use my calculator for that, I get, let's see, 48.25 times 10,000. That's going to be 4825 and then 2 zeros. And then over 1 times 1 is 1. So that means that my answer is just going to be 482500 DGs. So there's my answer for that one, 482500. All right, so the only thing that I used was this just, simple conversion that I have over here on the right-hand side. And I just, again, start at the top number or whatever, the higher number is between the two, the prefixes, and make my way to the bottom one. Now, number 5 and 6, we're arranging the quantities from smallest to largest. So the main thing here is that you just want to make it so that they're all the same units. That's the idea. Because once you're in terms of the same units, then you know what the largest number is. And generally speaking, I like to go to the smallest unit possible. So if it's between decameters, centimeters, and kilometers, if I go over to my list over here, kilos here, deca here, cent is here. I want everything to be in terms of centimeters, okay? So this one's already in terms of centimeters, so I'm going to leave that one as is, 128 centimeters. But I need to convert this one, 5.7 decameters. So I'm going to convert that to centimeters. Okay, so I do my little conversion here. Let's see. So decameters is going to be at the bottom. Centimeters is going to be at the top. And let's see what we have to do. So from deca to centa, I put a 1 here, and then 10, 100, and then 1,000. So for 1 decameter, it's 1,000 centimeters. So if I multiply straight across the top, 5.7 times 1,000 is 5,700. 1 times 1 is 1. And then the decameters are going to cancel out, so I'm just left in terms of centimeters. So this one is the same thing as saying 5,700 centimeters. So which one is larger out of these two? 5,700 centimeters or 128? Can you tell that really easily now? I bet you can. Okay, and that's the idea. You just want to get them in terms of the same units. And oftentimes, if you start at the smallest units, it's very, very clear which one's the largest value. All right, the last one I need to do is from kilometers to centimeters. So I start at kilometers now, right here, and I put a 1 over there, 1, and then we go 10, and then 100, and then 1,000, and then 10,000, and then 100,000. All right, so that means that if I start at 9.3 kilometers over 1, then the unit conversion that I use is going to be kilometers in the bottom and then centimeters in the top. And for every 1 kilometer, there's 100,000 centimeters. So this is going to be like a really, really big number. If I multiply straight across the top, I get 930,000 centimeters over 1, okay? Because, 1 times 1 is 1, so that goes in the denominator. The kilometers cancel out. So this one is going to be 930,000 centimeters. Okay, so now let's start rearranging these, like from smallest to largest. So out of these three, which one is the smallest? Obviously, the smallest one is going to be that 128 centimeters. So smallest is 128 centimeters. Then the next smallest is the 5,700 centimeters. So then it's going to be that 5.7 decameters. And then the largest one is the 9.3 kilometers. So 9.3 kilometers. Okay, there we go. So that's from smallest to largest for number 5. For number 6, we're going to do the same thing. Looks like we've got kilograms, grams, and milligrams. So out of all three of those, kilograms, grams would be the standard unit, and then milligrams. Yeah, it looks like, the smallest unit is going to be milligrams. So we're going to convert everything into milligrams. Okay, so let's start with kilograms. So if I have let's do it over here, 0.04 kg. Right? And by the way, if we're doing everything in milligrams, we can just leave that one as is. It's already good. It's in milligrams. So times 1, and then we multiply by our conversion units. So we put kilograms in the bottom, and then milligrams in the top. And we need to go from kilo all the way to milli. So 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and it looks like 1,000,000. Okay, so that means that for every 1 kilogram that I have 1,000,000 milligrams. So if I multiply that straight across the top, let's see what I get. I got to do that in my head. I can't do that in my head. I got to use my calculator for that. 1 million. So it's going to be 40,000 milligrams. So the kilograms cancel out. That's the number that we get. Okay, so that means that this guy right over here, 0.04 kilograms, is the same as saying 40,000 milligrams. Okay, so that's the one that we're going to use. And then the last one that I need to find out is that 19.5 grams and convert that to milligrams. So if I start at 19.5 grams over 1, and then I multiply that by my conversion unit, so grams goes in the bottom, milligrams goes in the top. Let's go over to our little conversion chart over here. So if I start at the standard measurement, which is going to be grams, I need to make my way all the way down to the milligrams. Okay, so let's put the 1 right here at standard and then go up by 10. It's 10, 100, 1,000. So for every 1 gram, I have 1,000 milligrams. So if I multiply straight across the top, I get 19,500 milligrams over 1. Okay, because again, the grams cancel out there, leaving me just in terms of milligrams. Okay, so that means that this next one is 19,500 milligrams. All right, so out of all three of these, which one's the largest one? I think it's pretty obvious, right? The 40,000 is the largest one. So that means that 0.04 kg is the largest. Oops, I go smallest to largest. So 0.04 kg is the largest one. The next largest one is the one that's grams. So that's going to be 19.5 grams. And then the smallest one is going to be this little guy over here, 212 milligrams. Okay, so that's the one that goes from smallest to largest again. All right, so there we go. That's the first 6 problems. I think that's probably a good place to stop. Well, let me see. I guess maybe we could do all of the 8.1 stuff. Yeah, let's go to number 8. Why not? We're 11 minutes in this video, 12 minutes in this video. Yeah, we can do these next 2. So who ran faster? Mark ran 300 meters. Ryan ran 300 decameters in the same length of time. Who ran faster? So the idea of like who ran faster is really coming down to like who ran the greater distance in the same amount of time. So what this comes down to is, is the distance that Mark ran, is it longer than the distance that Ryan ran? So we're going to compare the units, just like what we did in number 5 and number 6. So, we picked the smaller of the units, which is going to be the meters. So 300 meters for Mark, we're going to stick with that one, 300 meters. But I want to see how many meters 300 decameters is. So I'm going to convert it to meters. Okay, so I start with 300 decameters over 1. And then I multiply that by my conversion unit. So I'm going to go from meters to decameters, or vice versa, decameters to meters. So let's go over to our little list here. If we start at decameters, so that's here, we want to get to the standard meters, that's here, then that means that we would start with 1 here, and then the next one would be a 10. So that's pretty easy. It's just for 1 decameter, it's going to be 10 meters. So if we multiply straight across the top, we get 3,000 meters over 1. And yeah, so this amount, 300 decameters, is really 3,000 meters. So if Ryan ran 3,000 meters and Mark ran 300 meters, Ryan ran 10 times the distance that Mark ran in the same amount of time. Ryan is clearly faster in this one because he went 3,000 meters, which is way more than 300. Okay. All right, so there you go. There's our first answer. Ryan ran faster than Mark. Water removal. One pump removes 10 decaliters of water in 1 minute, and another pump removes 100 decaliters of water in a minute. Which pump removes, that's deciliters, removes the water faster? So if it removes more water in the same amount of time, then that makes it faster. So what we're going to do, again, is just compare these 2 numbers, but get them in the same units. So for one of them, I have DAL, which is decaliters, DEKA. And then for the other one, it's deciliters, that's DECI. So those are the 2 things that we're working with, deca and deca. And you can see that deca is the higher one out of the 2. So we're going to convert all of these to deciliters, okay? So if this is 100 deciliters, so 100 deciliters, then we need to just convert this 10 decaliters to deciliters. So we have 10 decaliters. And we're going to use our conversion unit. We're going to take the decaliters away, and we're going to put in deciliters instead. Oops, DL. There we go. All right, so if we go over to our little list here, deca, we get a 1, and then we go 10, and then 100. So that means that there are 100 deciliters for every 1 deciliter. So 100 deciliters for every 1 deciliter that we have. If we multiply straight across the top, that gives us 1 and then 3 zeros, so 1,000 deciliters. So the one pump that removes the 10 deciliters really is removing 1,000 deciliters, whereas the other one only removes 100 deciliters in the same amount of time. So if this was pump A and this was pump B, which one is the pump that is pumping out the fastest? It's obviously the one with the 1,000 deciliters, right? Because it's way more water in that 1 minute time span. So pump A, which is the one that removes 10 deciliters per minute, that's the one that ends up being faster, okay? All right, so there we go. We threw in 2 bonus ones for just a couple minutes extra on our video. And that'll be it for this one. So if you needed a little bit more practice with your, metric conversions, the ones that go up by tens and now by tens, just consult your 8.1 worksheet, watch the 8.1 notes, get some help that way. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. If not, go talk to your teacher. My name is Mr. Cook. I'm always available for help. So if you need some help, track me down. I'm available before school and after school. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.